Five Nights at Freddy's is a cultural monolith. If you're around my age, in your 20s, then you were a teen in the mid-2010s. So you were there. We were the ones watching this develop in real time. Back when 2 million subscribers was a lot, right before Twitch took over the gameplay commentary ecosystem, right when the old guard for media was unofficially laid to rest, just as independent developers were taking over and redefining success in the media, the modern attention economy has solidified. Whatever perverted hellscape TikTok is just what the internet is now. Several algorithm changes ago, before streaming and a global pandemic fundamentally changed the ways people consume media. Back then, all it really took was Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and the other one playing a game on their channels. They were the vector through which games became popular in online spaces. We were what popularity is. We were those subscribers, those millions upon millions of views. Millions used to be enough. FNAF and its creator, Scott Cawthon, was perfectly timed by sheer coincidence to get the freest, most effective possible advertising, stumbling into a machine ready to pump and pump and pump that just so happened to contain the exact demographic needed. FNAF, the game, released in 2014, was different, unique, unconventional, visually striking, mechanically new, even a strong sense of humor. It remains one of the greatest audioscapes of any horror game. To this day, nothing is really like it, except for all the stuff trying to be like it. It's a strong premise, a good execution. Sure, lots of games have stronger premises, better executions, but Witching Stone's developer isn't a multimillionaire now. And the reason is self-evident. We don't live in some magical meritocracy, a frictionless plane in which hard work manifests material success. We live in an increasingly unequal society in which hard work is punished. Of course, people succeed and have and will, whatever that means. Realistically, success is a thing that might happen if you work hard, but really all that matters is getting lucky. The fact that Daddy Mark was the arbiter of pop culture for millions of teenagers, then just so happened to play a random indie title that appealed to the sensibilities of those teenagers, at a time in which those teenagers could then collectively skyrocket to notoriety due to the way a particular website's recommendation algorithms prioritize 10 to 20 minute videos. Like, come on. This type of shit does not and cannot happen again. The trends are the same, but the details are all different. The details matter. FNAF would not make a good short. That being said, luck is something that can only happen when someone puts in the work. In order for a thing someone made to get popular, it has to have been made. Even if someone gets lucky, that doesn't mean they can follow through. That's just an opportunity to do more work. For that, Scott Cawthon gets my respect. His entire gamography is shorter experiences of novel ideas made, I assume, quickly and cheaply. Efficiently. This is not me insulting him. It's really a great skill set to have, because as things were getting popular, he was able to match pace with the content hell of the time. Later in 2014, he made a second FNAF game. 2015, he made 2 more. 2016, 2017, 2018, another. Entire books were written and published. 6 to 7 years of spewing FNAF into our open mouths, no warning. 2014 was an accident. His dedication is why we're talking about it today. Hello, Uzi. For better or for worse. For us, this shit was simply unavoidable. Basically everybody played or talked about FNAF. Entire careers start and end with FNAF. Much better games can thank their success to the precedent set by FNAF. For a solid 4 years, it bloated out the sun. This hurricane of stuff being made around and about the actual games. Ironically, while millions of people know about this story, it's not because they experienced it. It's something that was told to us by people whose material motivation was getting clicks. The truth story of Five Nights at Freddy's was something to be sold. We, as 15-year-olds with limited patience and minimal disposable income, weren't playing, we were watching. These games were taken, repackaged, filtered into something that was then served to us. There is no Trub Storky. That's not how art works. That's not how storytelling works. You know, there's an art object, and then there's experiences, interpretation, analysis, criticism, adaptation. The truth requires materiality that artistic experiences are not. Those videos were themselves artistic works, presented as a non-fictional retelling, but bound by the constraint of their own medium, translating the language of games into that of video, like trying to drag a rural Japanese poet into proper British English. It's a lostful transformation. That phenomena was semi-unprecedented. This whole real-time collaborative rewriting of a work that is actively in production through social media, that's insane. We're used to it now. This kind of speculation is banal and everywhere, but that doesn't make it good. It doesn't fix anything. It's bad when TV producers change the ending because Twitter guessed it. I have no pity for Cawthon. He's a millionaire white boy. He's doing just fine. I don't envy him either. As a creative, that sounds pretty miserable. I imagine someone like sitting over my shoulder as I write or edit. The luster of fiddling away drains when someone starts to leer. Basically everyone who's in my demographic, 20s, had access to the internet growing up, major depressive disorder, that stuff, has some version of this story in their head, but not the one Scott made, what's the one that Reddit made and some YouTubers stole. The Trub Storty is an artifice of an artifice, half remembered after we all moved on. Good art tends to stick around. Any strong enough experience has a lot of staying power. While I personally have not cared about this property since that guy who did challenge runs for Security Breach, I remember a story, whichever version it was. I refuse to go back and have this retold to me. I remember the bits and pieces that mattered to me. Good storytelling is good storytelling. Through time and the content slurry, the version in my head, me True Skorky, has stuck around for a reason. Sometime in the 80s, William Afton and his buddy Henry started a Chuck E. Cheese style franchise of arcade diners. Afton was something of a genius when it came to creating the namesake's animatronics. At the height of the restaurant's success, his older son accidentally causes the death of his youngest at the hands of his own creation. He goes a little crazy, fair, and discovers something. Ghosts, basically. In his pursuit to revive his dead kid, or know more, or get revenge, he twists his machines into efficient hunters. Over the course of about a decade, he's murdering children and stuffing them into robots, including his friend and business partner's daughter. William Afton himself is never caught. Fredbear's Family Diner eventually loses its good name on account of all the dead and missing children who, unbeknownst to the public, are possessing the animatronics. At some point, while trying to do something, this happens to lead to Afton's death inside of one of his own creations, also trapping his spirit in a broken shell. I know I'm wrong about the lore, by the way. Just to be polite, don't care. The lore heads are missing the point, as always. The version in my head is there. It's one of the most tragic things ever. It's just violence and cruelty causing violence and cruelty. This one guy ruining his and his buddy's life at the cost of children's lives. Vile and sad and irredeemably horrible. That's why the ending monologue of Pizza Sim is incredible. The only way to resolve decades of bloodied violence is burning the whole thing down. That's great storytelling. Remember when the spring lock snapped and we heard it crush bones and pierce Afton's lungs? It was awesome! Awesome's the wrong word. That's what I remember, and that's what stuck with me, because that's what I cared about. We carry the good with us, and kindly forget what remnant is. Looking back on the Shoe Corgi, all the theory does not reflect kindly on the adults in the room. 11 years late to the party, but I think MatPat's original theory is sickening. Really fucked up, actually. He was 28 when he made this. But time passes, the hype dies down. At one point, you either join the Discord or move on. There was a quiet period, usually enough for folks to start forgetting, then Security Breach released. But that game, especially at launch, was an embarrassing mess. The story was terrible, the gameplay was boring, it was glitchy and janky. There's a chance that a certain statue would fail to load, corrupt your save data, making the entire game unplayable. I'm not joking. Astral Spiff made an entire career of how bad it was. When researching for this video, I learned that around then, 2021, Scott Cawthon showed his entire ass to the internet. Basically, someone dredged up a bunch of donations he had made to a handful of conservative/fascist politicians. I don't care much for this kind of drama, but the reactions are understandable. Any large enough audience will contain queer, women, non-whites. When an otherwise not political public figure does something that directly hurts minorities, the marginalized people who like them get upset. He defended himself in a Reddit post that reads, like you'd expect, backstepping, conservative drivel, proto-fascist talking points. He has no interest in changing his worldview or understanding why people are mad at him. He's saying that he's Christian, Christians are conservative, so he's conservative. A deeply political statement I don't think he has any interest in litigating. Anybody who donates $5,000 to Mitch McConnell is not a fucking ally. Ben Carson is not a capable leader. You can't say you're pro-life without being anti-women. Scott Cawthon does not care about black people. I bring this up not because I find it entertaining. I do. That's besides the point. Rather, I don't like dunking on bad art. Movies, games, books, those are made by people, real human beings with feelings and lives. I tend to talk about independent creatives, works made by a team of 1 to 3. I have no interest in being insulting, crass, condescending, cruel to a person just because they made a thing. Scott Cawthon was independent. He's not anymore, but he's still a real human being. He deserves decency and respect. However, I have no reason to believe he'd treat me that way if he's on the side of the GOP, the unofficial party of murderous pedos who are attempting to eradicate innocent Americans and explicitly want people like me dead. Royalties from the plushies alone is enough to pay his mortgage in perpetuity. All this talk of respecting people's work is pointless. Because, fuck him. I don't give a shit about Scott Cawthon. After this incredibly lame debacle, he retired. He's not even 50. That's not what that is. He just has a lot of money and doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. In retrospect, it seems more like he tactically retreated from the public eye in order to avoid the fallout of his own actions. Only 2 years later, some movies would happen. 2023's Five Nights at Freddy's occurred. Somebody might have even watched it. 2 years after that, it happened again. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the movie, starring that guy from Hunger Games and a woman. Directed by Emma Tammy, with practical effects by the Jim Henson Company, Muppet People. And critics are saying, yep, is one of the worst things I've ever laid my eyes upon. A popular enough take is that fans will like it. I personally think it's wrong to have such a low opinion of fans. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the movie, is a floundering, embarrassing disaster in almost all regards. That's what $50 million in Hollywood gets you now. It's bad. It does not deserve the talent that went into it. The set designers and prop artists and actors. It's fucking insulting that this shit was in movie theaters worldwide, while actually capable writers and filmmakers and game designers are losing their income to advancements in AI. What makes the movie trash isn't the direction, isn't the edit, isn't the acting, isn't the sound effects or VFX. It's narrative structure. Dialogue, characterization, the insane world building and antagonist motives. The writing is to blame. Scott Cawthon is the sole accredited writer. He did this, and for the sake of everyone involved, I blame him. This is a story that made him famous. It's his story to tell. He's had a decade to figure it out. It's his story to absolutely fucking butcher. FNAF 2, the movie, will be entirely forgotten about by the end of the month. A line I wrote last month, and it seems to be true. With any luck, the inevitable sequel will fail completely, and we will never talk about these again. Pardon some YouTube doc retrospective thing in 5 years. That's the inevitable result of being this utterly trash without the grace to be trashy fun. It's inconvenient for fans. Anybody who isn't a fan isn't going to become one. That's just what happens when someone rejects the most basic fundamental skills of storytelling. The kind of shit you'd expect from any pretentious ass making a video essay. Characterization, motivation, stakes conveying, world building, setup, payoff, all these different things people use to entertain and enlighten each other. Whenever it comes to the rules of storytelling, it's a very fraught discussion. We're presupposing that there is a correct way of doing things, that any given technique or method is an objectively good idea, and therefore creatives must do that thing. Instead, we kind of have to recognize that two things can be true at once. There are a lot of good ideas that are worth using, and every single rule is just some bullshit. When Brandon Sanderson says plot exists to facilitate conflict, I'm thinking he's right, but also not every conflict is worth a plot, and sometimes the real meat of a story will be something else. The conflict is a smokescreen to facilitate character interaction, and some stories are way better off sidelining the conflict. Every rule is a post hoc rationalization trying to explain why a given work worked. It may or may not be accurate, intended, or useful. These are not strict guidelines, rather tools in the bag. A strong repertoire of capable tools in the hands of a knowledgeable craftsman is pretty nice to have when trying to build a house. Scott Cawthon, Daddy, is a man I expect to know what the rules are. 30 years of telling stories across a variety of mediums. Only one of those succeeded, but that doesn't mean shit when it comes to his skill level. Being known is not knowing. That's what I want you to keep in mind. He did this. He has no excuses, and it's this bad. This guy has the final say on everything in this goddamn series, legally and spiritually, and it's this bad. 30 years, and it's this bad. Finally, onto the movie. I'm going to split this into 3 chunks. From opening moments to 8:38, this shot of Vanessa waking up is the prologue / intro. From 8:38 to this shot of Mike pulling up at the school at 49:43 is the middle 40. The rest of the movie is a singular string of events that does not let up until the credits, so from there on out is the climax. The full runtime is just under an hour and 40 minutes, so already there's a pretty obvious problem. Over half this movie is just climaxing. There's gotta be a sex joke in there. Something sounds exhausting because it is. The prologue is the strongest overall section. It makes at least a surface level amount of sense. The movie hasn't had time to wear you down with bullshit, so it's even slightly enjoyable. The actual opening moments are garbage. A 20-second shot, it's too dark to tell what's happening, the close-up tells us nothing, its framing is super awkward, there's no way of knowing the when, where, why, who, of what's happening on the screen. The dialogue itself is masturbatory.
Don't forget to stay around to the very end for a great big surprise.
Cutting to the Universal / Blumhouse logos, drags you out of suspension of disbelief right as you're trying to settle in, and it's completely irrelevant. Bad movie. Now, a minute in, the prologue opens into the bougiest arcade diner you've ever seen. 1982 slams onto the screen. It's safe to assume we all know this is Fazbear's Diner, the main hook of this setting. The camera settles onto a girl with black hair. This is Charlotte. The next couple of minutes are detailing the day of her murder, setting up the primary antagonist and an important location. I don't even know if I'm intelligible, which is one of the worst things when I start talking. This scene explains her motivation. It is the inciting incident for everything that happens. I don't really know how I feel about describing a 10-year-old murder victim as an antagonist. On a basic level, the events of this scene make sense. They work. Charlotte is a melodramatic, sad teenager. A blonde girl is nice to her. She sees a man coax a random child into the back of the restaurant. She freaks out. Nobody will help her, so she pursues the man on her own, valiantly saving the boy, but getting stabbed and bleeding out in front of the crowd. On a brass tacks, functional. There is some genuine skill in filmmaking and acting on display. The camera follows Charlotte, the cuts follow her eyeline, that's what tells us to empathize with her. The shot of Afton is low and crowded. The contrast between the glowing eyes and pitch black hallway demands attention. The way Matthew Lillard plays the scene as a cautious predator, that's how we understand the stakes. This is supposedly a horror movie. It's supposed to be scary, in theory. There's no fear, like the stuff you don't be knowing about or some shit. Creating a situation like this, in which the audience feels defenseless in the face of an uncertain threat, where we don't fully understand what's happening, all we know is that something is wrong. That's creating horror. My compliments to the editors, camera people, set designers, prop artists. The mise-en-scène, particularly in these early scenes, is immaculate. Somebody knew what they were doing, not the writer. The dialogue is insane. Restaurant staff walk up to some kid and condescendingly judge her.
You seriously just gonna sit here till the trap door's open?
Blondie uses the soda's full legal name.
You look like someone who could use a Freddy Fast Cola.
When Charlotte runs for help, this child is going up to adults in a public space, begging them for help, and their reaction is to scream at her until she fucks off.
Go tell your parents!
It happens 3 times, and I cannot imagine a single human being reacting that aggressively. If you stop and think about it, this whole fucking scene crumbles under its own weight. Charlotte's entire thing is that nobody likes me.
They don't want me there. No one does.
But blonde girl is nice to her. Which is fine. It's melodrama. They're like friends or sisters or something. But, like, Charlotte is here for some random kid's party. Why would she be here if she wasn't explicitly invited by this random kid? Why would she feel that way if she was? Every shot we see of the dining hall thoroughly establishes that this incredibly popular restaurant is filled, at capacity. Why is the dish pit empty? Why is the entire back of house barren with all the lights off? How is this not in use? The whole escape sequence thing. Like, there's an exit sign in frame, right in the upper middle third, where you can't miss it because the camera shows it the entire time. Just in case, these kinds of exit signs are a federal fire safety thing here in the States. They lead to the outside of the building. In fact, we can see the end of the hallway. You know, that likely goes to the outside because that's what exit signs are for. But after the cut to black, Charlotte is magically on the stage. If I had to guess, it's because they were working backwards from the final shot. Like, fine. It's a good shot. It's a great shot, even. In isolation, it's intimidating and freaky and implies the kind of fucked up protection thing the puppet has going on. But if all you want is a cool picture, don't make a movie. Just get into photography. The storytelling here matters, and it's bad. The dialogue is insane, the scene construction undoes itself, and I don't get what the fuck is going on. Bad movie. Interestingly, if you remember, this isn't the first depiction of Charlotte's death. I believe the first one was in FNAF 2, right? More explicitly was the one in Pizzeria Sim. The puppet minigame explicitly shows Charlotte dying on the outside of the building, like where exit signs lead. It's the whole security protocol thingy that causes the puppet to go outside, and because of that it gets damaged and her spirit ends up possessing it. None of that is inconsequential. Like, in terms of the story being told, all of those events are pretty important. Afton killed Charlotte to fuck with Henry, right? Part of that was her getting stuck outside, being vulnerable, trapped, and alone, and the puppet's whole fucking deal is that it protects the children from people like Afton. That's the point of the story that Scott Cawthon wrote. And now he's rewriting it on the fly, but worse? He's taking his own work and shitting all over it. How do you even manage that, Scott? Are there worms in your brain? The movies are playing fast and loose with their own canon. I think that's a baffling choice, but Cawthon is the one guy who gets to do that. Any adaptation must concede to the medium it's adapted into. The details of the lore don't matter. It's irrelevant if this is the final authoritative version, or alternate universe retelling, or just another take on the same events. Scott and fans can deal with that. It matters to me that this is a good story. Worryingly, changing Charlotte's death from cold, alone, and cruel to incidental public spectacle fails to understand why Pizzeria Sim worked. That shit is burned into my head because it's a well-told tragedy. This shit is a mess at best. Moving on, the opening credits are cutesy, even if it's bad for pacing. On a funnier note, the news headlines detailing the aftermath of the murder are as insane as the dialogue. Girl blamed for accident. She had knife wounds in her back. Gonna explain that one? No? Okay. Kids mourn Freddy's, especially the marionette. That's not a proper sentence, my guy. Cut to Vanessa, our femme lead. She's woken up by a phone call from Mike, our mask lead. The dialogue here is on the stronger side, for this at least. They set up the not date.
I just wanted to see if we're still good for dinner later.
They do a little expositing, establish some relationships, introduce our 3 main characters, including Abby, Mike's kid, I guess. The middle 40 is bad. There's so many holes. There's so many problems. It's basically everything. Nothing about it makes sense. It's insane to the extent that trying to properly convey that would make me just as rambling and incoherent. I don't need help with that. For the sake of framing, let me simply list out the bare bones series of events that take place throughout the next 40 minutes. Mike calls Vanessa about the not date Guy appears to paint. Abby is sad about her friends, i.e. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy from the first movie. She goes to school where she is bullied by the teacher of her robotics class, because the science fair or some shit. Mike and Vanessa go on their not a date. Abby sneaks out that evening to see her friends, who are robots and dead. Mike gives Abby a toy to cheer her up. Mike discovers a poster that says murder. That's all it says. It just says murder. We get a side story with these TV paranormal investigator types called the Spectral Scoopers. We're introduced to Michael Afton, portrayed by Freddie Carter, who's looking over the long-defunct original diner. One by one, the TV hosts are free and then are murdered by Charlotte, I guess. One of them is possessed by Charlotte. Okay, this is implied to be Michael Afton's plan. Kind of, I think, maybe. Abby is bad at robots, and once again being shown as concerningly delusional.
Chica, can you hear me?
Vanessa has a PTSD flashback of her abusive father at spin class, resulting in her pointing a gun at a guy who was being nice to her. She then confronts her dead father, I guess. Abby sneaks out again to the other diner at behest of the fast speaker Mike let her have. At the original diner, Toy Chica helps her with her project thing. Vanessa barges into Mike's house. Freddy's murder. Mike is upset with her for reasons, so she leaves. Mike brings Abby to science fair before leaving to go somewhere to do something. Vanessa goes to the original diner, begin climax. It's a lot of stuff that just kind of happens. There are a lot of problems with its basic construction, like everything, but it's not like the worst thing ever. We're still in the realm of maybe being enjoyable. The one goddamn thing that is thoroughly, diligently established. Abby's behavior is delusional. This is concerning. Every adult is concerned about her well-being. She is socially isolated because other kids think she's crazy and repeatedly insists that the robots are her friends. She's a walking red flag. That's the point. Good job, team. The not a date is the best scene in the movie. Vanessa and Mike are supposed to have some kind of romantic thing going on. Mike's insistence that it's not a date brings a fun kind of tension to the whole thing. Vanessa drives the conversation in a really awkward way.
So this is what it's like?
What?
Being normal?
But Mike is able to mesh into that.
We're normal now?
I think we're doing pretty good.
There's this whole thing with a busboy and scraping up crumbs that is the most like, we don't belong here kind of shit. Which would be a lot better if it went somewhere instead of not. They have a strong rapport and it's cute. It gives you something to want for them. Mike's trying his best. Vanessa is dealing with all this shit from her fucked up dad. The dialogue is emotionally heavy with lots of implications. I would threaten to call this good. This scene says, out loud, the movie's themes. The line,
"You're never going to be free of your dad until you deal with some of the mess you left in your head,"
is basically a thesis statement. Vanessa is Afton's daughter. I don't know if I said that. The movie doesn't. This positions Afton as haunting the narrative. He is physically absent, but the emotional weight of the pain he's caused burdens everyone. This scene establishes our two main conflicts. Can these two figure it out, and how does Vanessa deal with her trauma? Skipping ahead a little to the other one decent scene in this worthless movie, we get a line about spin class.
Like biking classes, right?
Spin class.
Spin class, yeah.
Later, Vanessa goes to spin class. This scene is fevered, muddy descent into a panic attack. It shows the severity of her trauma, how it affects her daily life, telling us why Mike is right and she needs to deal with it. Next scene is her doing that, and this is good storytelling. Conceptually. In practice, it sucks ass. The lighting and editing is bad, the events are drawn out and confusing. In the wider narrative, it's a waste of time. None of this will matter in 20 minutes. I can compliment the spin class scene in isolation, but if the writer can't give us characters and their arcs, then this accomplishes nothing. The best it can do is being okay. The not a date, spin class, even the prologue. That's it. They're okay on their own, but not as a whole. As a whole, this movie is insane. It's a hollow posturing of storytelling while incapable of being a story. It makes me feel like I'm crazy. The more you pick apart any single aspect, the less sense it makes. Seriously, the lighting is so poorly managed, it destroys the intuitive relationship to time. Outside, we repeatedly switch from midday bright to pitch black nighttime. They repeatedly skip over morning and evening, especially when the passing of time is extremely important. There's no attempt to say what time of year it is. Considering how fast sundown is, it should be around winter. There's kids in costumes, very Halloween, but all the trees are green. So I guess it's spring. But who cares? They don't tell us and it doesn't matter. It's just really baffling miscellaneous details. Abby's behavior is incredibly concerning.
My friends, the animatronics are broken.
The movie tells us over and over how concerning it is.
Go see my friends?
You mean like your friends from school?
I meant Chica and the others.
And yet, Mike and Vanessa, who are supposed to be concerned about her, do literally nothing to address it. They do not even try to help Abby. They do nothing to try and mitigate it. They don't even get upset with her at any point. The one fucking thing they bother establishing about anything is Abby's concerning and we are concerned about her. For audiences, we're being told this is important. As the minutes go by and nothing happens as a result of the important thing, it's annoying. It's breaking the social contract. Movies aren't supposed to vibrate noise in our direction. They're supposed to be fun and engaging. Asking the audience to engage with nothing is insulting. For the characters, it makes them look really stupid. That or evil or insane. They say Mike cares about Abby, but his actions are apathetic at best. The one goddamn time anybody listens to the words the child is saying, Mike shuts it down and ignores it. They did this man so dirty. Josh Hutcherson, the actor, somebody who could have made a great himbo. They try to go for struggling young man trying his best, but forget about it so quickly it causes whiplash. Unfortunately, Mike isn't a character, he's an unliving amalgam occupying screen space. Every single character has at least one moment in which they do something egregiously moronic, except Abby, but that's because children are allowed to be stupid. The Spectral Scoopies, one of the coolest armors if you're playing Mage. The vignette we get with them, it's very paint-by-numbers 80s type horror shit. 3 people investigate a haunted building, then they die. Freddie Carter's performance of Michael is way too fucking good. I don't know how he managed it. For such nothing writing, he still carries himself very well. So I guess the whole thing is like curiosity killed a TikToker. Guy 1 goes over there because girl hears something and goes downstairs. Guy 2 sticks with girl. Girl finds a music box and turns it off. Guy 1 slips and falls because... And then Guy 2 is killed by Mangle because after turning off this mysterious music box, girl just doesn't react for like a minute. We get all these shots of the present opening and gears whirring and we can hear it, but girl does not react. She does nothing and politely waits to be murdered. Guy 1, he slips and falls into stagnant water. Stagnant water that has been sitting isolated in an abandoned building for 20 years. That is one of the most disgusting and dangerous things that exist. It fucking reeks and it's filled with botulism. So he stands in it for a couple of minutes. He just stands there, doesn't even try to climb the chest-high retaining wall, and waits to be murdered. Guy 2's death at least makes sense. He hears girl scream, reacts, and is attacked. So he's not a complete fucking idiot, at least. But also, they imply that Michael has something to do with it.
What did you do? What did you do?
That this was intentional and /or is not dangerous for him or some shit. Why wasn't he immediately attacked? Watching this scene is like shapes, undulating around in familiar patterns without any of the things that are actually meaningful. I do not grieve Guy 1. I do not pity girl. They just kind of show up, do one specific thing in the dumbest manner possible, and die. Vanessa's confrontation. If there's any hope of having any degree whatsoever of interesting character development, it's somewhere in here. Remember the line, "You're never gonna be free of your dad until you deal with some of the mess he left in your head"? You know how that's what the movie's supposed to be about? Basically, if we're told Vanessa needs to deal with her trauma, then we're shown the effects of that trauma, then we have a scene about confronting it, you'd expect something to come of this. This is the story being told, and it should have something to do with something. Lamau, idiot. Problem the first. World building is fucked. There's a line from Michael that implies a very physical metaphor.
Look, Vanessa, I was thinking, do you remember how I would use my dreams to confront what happened with Garrett?
The start of the scene has Vanessa doing stuff that looks ritualistic. The orange airplane in particular, we've been shown it explicitly multiple times. It's gotta be important. I don't fucking know why, but the camera implies it. So it's supposed to be that her nightmare of him is a literal way of addressing his abuse. The liminal dream space is being treated as a physical confrontation, and the spatial editing, holy fuck. The cut from her being inside her house to her in this house, if these are supposed to be different houses, I have no idea. This movie refuses to establish anything. First thing she does is go upstairs, and that's where she sees him, down the hall in his workshop. Very imposing shot. Matthew Lillard is an imposing guy, and he has a nice beard. Then all the doors, and he's in front of her. She is supposed to be achieving something. She says,
I'm not afraid of you. I don't need you anymore.
this is supposedly Vanessa accomplishing something. When Afton appears in front of her, she runs away screaming like a baby. She's panicking and trying to leave and screaming for help in what is supposed to be her conquering her fears. Boy, does this shit go on for like 3.5 minutes. Afton grabs a knife and then she runs upstairs and is a kid and hides in the workshop and stumbles into a piece of sequel bait that could have funded a homeless shelter for months. But he's old now, so she leaves and is an adult and fucking shoots him with a gun. She's a cop and kills an unarmed man with a gun in his own home. Is that a good thing, Scott? Is that healing to you, Scott? I understand less. I don't know what this is supposed to accomplish. I don't know why it's here, and I don't know why you thought to show it to me. And cherry on top, nothing here matters for later. The final scene of the middle 40. The final scene of the middle 40 is one of the worst fucking things I have ever laid my eyes on. This is the moment in which any possible hopes of getting a decent story out of this thing is squashed. It's the breaking point in which audiences will give up. After the confrontation, we get this lightning fast scene of Abby's speak and spell thingy talking to her, so she teleports to the original diner in the middle of the night and meets Toy Chica, who I guess is the puppet trying to trick her. Cut to midday. Vanessa does a short knock and immediately opens the door, which implies a much greater degree of implicit trust between Mike and Vanessa than we have reason to believe. That also makes everything just a little bit more confusing. Really just seems like she did a random thing that typically would be extremely uncouth, so the movie could yell at you and say this line,
First rule is always check behind the door.
whatever relationship Abby and Vanessa have, who knows, this is their first on-screen interaction. Abby all but explicitly says she went to the old diner last night.
Yeah, in their old house, last night. It's got a play area for little kids and even a river.
She describes in accurate detail a building that Vanessa is likely extremely familiar with. And also she can know nothing about. Also, she has literally no way of having this information besides having gone there. It's very obvious exactly what has happened, and they're just telling you what happened. Mike returns because he wasn't here, so the movie could yell at you. As an aside, the science thing is now shelled in plastic. Perfect, clean, transparent plastic in the shape of Chica. It's 2002. There are no commercially available 3D printers. Even then, this does not look 3D printed. She just somehow got her hands on brand new injection molded plastic perfectly fitted to the little robot. Nobody ever acknowledges this. Vanessa, in the single attempt from any adult to address the concerning child's concerning behavior, tries to pull Mike aside and talk about it. The reading of this line is weirdly dramatic.
We need to talk.
Yeah, we do.
Cut to them outside and she's holding the poster. Freddy's is murder. The line they cut to is
What is this? I don't understand.
very funny to me. She could have been holding literally anything. Anything could be happening in this shot and that line would not have to change. With how half-assed this prop is, I think that was intentional. Rectifying this scene means addressing the nitty-gritty of the insane dialogue. Elizabeth Lyle as Vanessa is definitely struggling with the script, but Josh Hutcherson does a decent job selling his lines by mumbling them. The actors are way fucking better than this script deserves, so I want to divorce the writing from the acting. not let Cawthon hide behind talented actors. We'll do a one-person table read. It'll be fun. Shut up. Stop crying. Friendly reminder, Mike is the one who told Vanessa to deal with the past.
You're never gonna be dad.
He said those words out loud with his mouth. Cut to outside. Vanessa and Mike are standing in front of his front door. Vanessa says, "What is this? I don't understand." Neither did I till I called the number. "Listen, we really need to talk about Abby. She said she's been with Freddie and Chica." "I know, this new toy she has, this new Faz speaker thing." "No, she says she saw them. She says she went somewhere." "Okay, you know, Vanessa, I've been trying really hard to move forward." "I know, but Mike." "No, but listen, how can I move forward when it's one thing after another?" "Look, I hear you. I do. It's just what Abby said. Abby's just a kid, and right now she's hurting, and she misses her friends, and there's nothing I can do to help her, the same way I couldn't help Garrett. I don't know who Garrett is, it does not matter. Or the other kids at Freddy's, other kids like Charlotte." Long pause. "How do you..." "Her dad made that flyer. So I called him and he told me about his little girl and her best friend, Vanessa. Why didn't you tell me there were other victims, other kids?" "My father was a monster. You know that. All I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to fix my family. I'm trying to fix the situation with Abby. I'm trying to fix you." Wait. Is that what this has been about? This has been.
Is that what this has been about?
This movie has been in theaters. "No. You're trying to fix me?" Long pause. "You know what? I can take care of myself. You just need to watch out for Abby." Hold on Mike's reaction while Vanessa walks in and out of frame towards her car. Hold one beat too short. Cut. The entire movie is like this. ChatGPT dialogue is the new insult in town. That's what the hippening and happening kiddos are saying. I try so hard to ignore any and all AI slop. I have better things to do, like... So I couldn't say exactly what idiosyncrasies give it away, what that we should be looking out for. This reads like slop, because it's really bad. The difference between a human being not even trying and a math problem guessing is functionally indistinguishable. Trash dialogue is not a new phenomena. On a pure technical level, the words themselves are almost okay. No, they're actually not. They suck. This is just the most boring shit. There's an attempt to use rhetorical devices to emphasize a point. The polysyndeton tricolon, and she's hurting, and she misses, and there's nothing. Not bad, but the climax of the sentence is wild. Garrett is never mentioned before or after. The anaphora at the end, I'm trying to. Not bad. It's very C+ writing, I'll be nice. Straightforward, not particularly inventive, but not trying to be. It would be passable if there was any flow whatsoever. They spend the entire time completely ignoring each other. They're just miming a conversation in each other's direction. The responses are indirect in the annoying way. There's no clear, obvious feeling of escalation. From a character perspective, absolute garbage. The one thing we know about Mike is that he cares about Abby's safety. So why is he ignoring credible threats to her safety? He knows Abby has and will snuck out. Why is he ignoring somebody he supposedly trusts and has a romantic interest in? If Vanessa wants anything, I could not even begin to guess. For the whole 7.89 seconds they're on screen together, she seemed to care about Abby. Presumably she's invested in all the trauma her dad caused, but her exact relationship to anything is unknowable. If the motivations are inscrutable, then so is the meat of the conflict. Is Mike wrong for ignoring her, or is Vanessa wrong for annoying him? Who knows? He said he's angry that she brought up the past, but that's not what's happening. Objectively, she's not doing that. If you really want to put in the effort to write this scene for them, then the conflict is Vanessa's failure to communicate to Mike about all the Fazbear murders. That's what he's upset about. Before Mike was understanding and respectful, we can assume this is because he cares about her. But now he isn't. He's shoving her trauma in her face as some kind of gotcha. Because, even though he's acting like this is some big secret, no it isn't. We saw the newspapers, Afton, Charlotte, Fazbear's. This is publicly available information. If Mike was written proactively, like a good character, then he would have gone and found this information of his own accord. There's no excuse for him to not, actually. Just the absolute basics of storytelling, having goals and then trying to achieve them. Instead, the Mike we get is floating in a void and sometimes things happen around him. Our protagonist, everybody. The conflict is so incredibly stupid and infuriating that the story is dead in the water. Mike and Vanessa do not have wants or needs, they're not trying to accomplish anything. There's no conflict, just the vague idea of conflict. There's no reason to pay attention and nothing to care about. For any story, this complete disengagement is death. We are not watching a movie anymore. We are waiting for the pretty colors to stop so we can go home. Based off of audience responses, critical, fan reviews, the theater, and people I watch this with, here in the middle of the goddamn movie, that's what happened. People like me were so frustrated over the first half that they checked out. People who liked it thought the robots were cool. The last 56 minutes are as bad as they can only be. Somehow way too long and slow, but also rapid fire noise. We don't have characters anymore. The action is so poorly shot and the world building is perplexing. The only upside is that the robots are cool. It's very hard to deny that the robots are cool. For the total 8 minutes they're on screen, in between all the shit that barely makes sense, while we wait for the movie to fart out its ending, the robots are moderately cool. Honestly, it's a very boring kind of bad. There's really nothing of value to glean from this dumpster, so I kinda want to do some dunking and get out of here. The second half, as a series of events. Mike drops Abby off at science fair, he leaves. Vanessa goes to the original diner and has gun. She says words and is got by the puppet. Science fair, teacher man does not notice the radically different project Abby has. Abby? Instead, he insults her and breaks it. Abby teleports to the old diner where Puppet, speaking through Toy Chica, tricks her into typing in a code of random numbers and letters that Vanessa conveniently has memorized. Just in case, here's a 1/4 second shot of the boys! Taxi scene, it's supposed to be funny. It kinda is, but it's entirely self-referential bullshit. Mike is somewhere. They don't say his name, by the way. Not until long after this. They don't introduce themselves or anything like that. Skeet Ulrich puts his entire pussy into this performance. I respect the play, but it feels painfully overacted compared to the more straightforward portrayals.
To become so blinded by ambition that even with the best of intentions, you don't see the devil sitting right beside you.
It's the river ride. That was one of Charlotte's favorites.
Mike figures that Abby is at the place, and Henry is like, "Wait, please, take this MacGuffin. It will help you on your quest." Mike teleports to the place. It's nighttime now, doors locked for reason. Luckily, there just so happens to be a fully functioning flashlight within arm's reach of the window he breaks and enters from. Batteries, after all, are just fine sitting in a damp room for 20 years. Chica and Abby are at science. Nobody in this goddamn whole ass school bothers to make a single comment about the 6 to 7 foot tall robot that can speak in complete sentences. Except for Teacher, who accuses her of lying without bothering to check anything. He's just shouting at and berating a student again. So he's died. It takes like 3 minutes for him to be murdered. You hope it wouldn't suck in almost every way, but it does. Mike finds Vanessa. She says, "I know you don't trust me, but what if you did?"
I know you don't want to, but you have to trust me.
And the conflict is forgotten about until exactly the final line of dialogue.
I can't trust you.
Laugh.wav plays, and despite there being no reason to believe there's an actual threat, they take the long way around, so Mike falls into water for like 2 minutes. Vanessa explains what the plot is. I'll just read this line to you. "My father killed her, but she doesn't blame him. She blames the parents. All parents. They sit at a computer and completely fucking butcher the world building. Abby wins science. Women in STEM. Security breach, like the video game. For reasons I refuse to explain, Freddy and Bonnie are trying to kill random people we've never seen before, so Vanessa goes to them because we know where they are. Mike is in the office, trying to click a button, I guess, being attacked by the Withers, like the video game, while Vanessa drives away. Vanessa gets attacked by the Mangle in one of the most painful action sequences I have ever seen. It starts with the mangle on her car. She's get run off the road into a field and almost killed. Then she drives away with the mangle still on her car. Here's some old people. Vanessa teleports to their house so she can crash into it, sending the mangle directly into Freddy's face. This accomplishes nothing. There's Toy Bonnie threatening to murder a woman in front of her child with a honing iron. We cut to and from this about 3 times. It's so do nothing that I keep accidentally cutting it. Mike pushes the button, so he leaves. So then the button gets unpushed. At the same time, some bad CGI reveals Puppet was in Chica and with Abby. In the same amount of time it takes Mike to go from the office to a random intersection, Vanessa has gone nowhere. That's how she knows the animatronics are getting back up, so she tells Mike. Mike teleports to the other diner and does a little scream while the camera gets vertigo. Vanessa's car dies. By sheer coincidence, Mike's friend, who I have not mentioned, and why would I, he's in one scene, is there and drives her to Mike's house. Mike's friend, despite seeing a situation that obviously implies that his friend and Abby are in danger, does nothing and sits in the car while a panicking woman he does not trust runs into Mike's house. Puppet confrontation, callback.
Always check behind the door.
Puppet gets the upper hand because Vanessa doesn't even fucking try to do anything. I wonder what happened to that gun of hers. And right here, this particular shot where I was not paying attention and thought, I might like this if it was in a good movie. The rest happens in about 8 minutes, which is both too long and not enough time. Mike appears and casts the music box like a fucking spell, which is then turned off and left across the room, never to be mentioned again. The toys show up, then Michael shows up. He says words. I'll just read this one. Actual line from the movie. Half of this town will be dead by morning.
Half of this town will be dead by morning. Half of this town will be dead by morning.
Vanessa says the line, I am home. Then some others show up. This goes on forever. Michael gets clotheslined by that guy. I guess he got bored and wanted a glass of water. So he leaves Michael on the ground where he can easily escape. This line, they weren't made to leave Freddy's. Gonna explain how they got here? How robot teleport across the city? No? Okay. A random blonde boy is here now. He says, words. Mike tells Vanessa he can't trust her, so I guess she wasn't home. Speaking of home, Mike and Abby leave his own house in the middle of the night. Vanessa stands in the doorway, and I absolutely do not, will not, could not, fuck you. She stands there, doing nothing, and gets possessed by Charlotte. That's the end of the movie. Most fascinating to me is the editing. It's bad, but not that bad. It's uniquely bad in a few different ways. Altogether, these very special fuck-ups ruin your ability to gain your footing. Oh, I actually don't know. I might just remove all of this. Maybe I'll just skip it. The single worst thing the movie does is antagonist motivation. The actual, no foolin', for real, actual explanation they give is that Charlotte blames all parents. Actual, real line of dialogue in a movie that exists.
My father killed her, but she doesn't blame him. She blames the parents. All parents.
Which is insane. Everything about it is insane. From the random people getting assaulted at the end are implied to be the miscellaneous jerks from the beginning. They don't show us that or even try to tell us. So watching is just completely random people. The fact that it's even implied is maddening. If she hates parents, it makes sense that she's nice to kids. But then why murder 3 random people? Girl was kinda needed for Charlotte to move around, but why kill the other 2? If she's so willing to randomly slaughter people, why not kill Vanessa? Why does she seemingly have specific targets in the first place if she blames all parents? Fucking scrutable. Michael's is worse. The fact that they maybe kind of sort of imply he has some master plan, that something lured the TV hosts to their deaths intentionally, blah, blah, blah. That's somehow a continuation of his dad's legacy, and half of this town will be dead by morning. That's just some of the worst shit ever. That's what Scott went with. That's the story. Wow. Just wow. Like always, I'm changing my ending last minute. Conclusions are not my forte, and I'm not willing to set up a camera and all that. So imagine a fish, and it'll be like I'm there. In conclusion, movie bad. Movie so embarrassingly, ridiculously bad that there's really only one conclusion to draw here. Scott Cawthon is a hack. He's a mediocre church fucker who had one good idea in 30 years that just so happened to get so fabulously lucky as to get fabulously wealthy. Now he uses that goodwill and clout to all but grift his audience as he pathetically flounders around pretending he's capable of making movies. A shit dude with shit ideas. Leaving that behind, there's one thing about this movie that really fucking gets me. I can summarize my viewing experience in one word. Noise. This movie feels like a bunch of random noise. The characters are half-assed simulacra of a simulacra. The story is an outline of a concept recovered from the dumpster of a much better writer. The one and only feeling that I walked away with was noise. I brought this up a couple of times but didn't really linger. Here's the thing about quote-unquote AI, quote-unquote art. It's just noise. Stable Diffusion is literally just digital noise, but LLMs are metaphorically noise. LLMs function by converting training data, words and stuff, into numerical arrays. Words are given mathematical values, a point on a graph, then that graph is referenced in order to convert mathematical values back into a sentence. It's a predictive text algorithm that sees a word like Albuquerque equals 6.753 and that beautiful equals 5.348 and slams them together. Wherein a human would compose a sentence top down, having a meaning to convey, then finding semantics and syntax to convey that meaning, LLMs go bottom up, picking a word and then picking a word and then picking a word. So when ChatGPT, fucking massive air quotes, writes a story, no it doesn't. Not in the way that a human has ever or will ever do that. It's just slapping the word the on a page and vibing. It's not capable of intention or editing or structuring a narrative. It's not writing. It's random number generation designed to look like writing. The one things LLMs have going for them is grammar. They've stolen a lot of shit, and because of that, they have the correct syntax ready. But semantics, value, not mathematical values, but emotional, spiritual, political, economic, aesthetic, transcendent, agonizing, value itself is something it's completely incapable of, because it's a math problem guessing. The only possible outcome is an entire industry dedicated to Noam Chomsky's nonsense sentence. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously is grammatically correct. We've got a subject with adjectives and nouns, a little verb for flavor, synaptically infallible, semantically worthless. That's what AI is. When AI makes things, it's that. It mostly looks fine, but any actual meaning simply does not exist. It is noise. Vapid, hollow, undulating noise in the shape of something familiar. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the movie. This is not an accusation. I actually don't care at all if Cawthon fucking is that pathetic and embarrassing. If this movie was written by ChatGPT, that wouldn't change shit. Cawthon would reveal himself a grifter rather than incompetent, which is the same. It's more about the theoretical question. What happens when the head writer is Grok? It's inevitable, if not happening already. The cat is out of the bag and knocking over all the plants. We're kind of trapped in this shit-ass reality. Before I go jerk off or whatever, I want to contribute to the conversation. LLMs, Stable Diffusion, recommendation algorithms have been around for a while. The tech's been in development off and on for a very long time. They are advancements, but only kinda. A lot of what Sora 2 does is Photoshop. It's a Snapchat filter. What's happening now is a fad. We did reach some kind of technological breaking point, OpenAI in 2023, but then the culture went insane. The same evangelists who thought ape PNGs would topple the global economy jumped on the hype train, along with a dozen major tech companies and investment firms. So we're suffocating in the bubble. Economically, generative AIs just cannot be worth billions upon billions. It's just impossible for everyone involved to get an ROI when this much money is on the line. No single tech in the history of ever has this much value generation. Meanwhile, the American government is irreparably damaging the American economy. Most of the companies involved are American companies. America is refusing to regulate this in any way, which will make every consequence that much more severe. The only possible outcome of AI currently is massive economic damage. Likely, the actions of the Trump administration will do so much harm to a different sector, like cost of living, that it pops the bubble. Or the bubble bursts and that hurts income, hurting standard of living, rippling out to the tunes of billions upon billions of dollars. Primarily due to the actions of the Trump administration, America will lose its place as the global economic hegemon. Ironically, it can really only be replaced by China or them goddamn commies in the EU, maybe Canada. Lamau, basically. It's just the only possible outcome of unsustainable expansionist genocidal violence in an unregulated tulip market defined by hype. King Pedo has fucked us all, especially the younger folk. Ha ha. Ignoring societal collapse and nuclear extinction events, what will generative AI be in 5 to 10 years? The zeitgeist will have to integrate it. This is just a thing now. Well, in my opinion, Shutterstock. For artists, stock music, videos, photos already fill a niche. They're generic, cheap or free, general purpose, few are good, but they're not meant to be. It's designed to fill space, typically by conveying particular emotions or leaning into a bit. They tend to be aesthetically bizarre, hyper-specific yet nondescript, filler. Very useful thing to have. And hey, that kind of senselessness sounds a bit like AI. Generative AI can't make a whole movie, but it's pretty effective at making a few seconds. Basically, AI could be a similar SaaS thingy. Instead of searching for, you prompt to generate, slap it into whatever you're making. In fact, for a lot of creatives, it's already that. Shutterstock costs about $300 a year. It's valued at $640 million. The stock is cheaper than the subscription. Far cry from $500 billion. Shutterstock companies like it are a business expense. They have a specific market, filling a specific niche quite well. Generative AIs will likely get stuck competing with them. Win or lose, we'll see in 10 to 15 years. I'm probably going to stick with Pixabay in the meantime. In all the myriad ways this tech fails to be revolutionary, the best possible outcome is that an AI service is like Photoshop Plus, Shutterstock Plus, maybe something else useful. It just doesn't do jack for shit that's actually new or unique. The absolute best case scenario is that it's like helpful in making an outline. It's just bad. That is, unless, of course, you're a fraud. If you're a fraud, a liar person, a flim-flam man, then generative AI is the next messiah. There's nothing better. If you want to scam people, if your goal is lie, cheat, steal, it's incredible. Nothing's better at that than AI. We're going to live in a world in which AI is the forefront of scamming people. 30 years ago, you'd cobble together a shitty movie tie-in, copied from whatever's popular, and make sure it was discounted the day of release. Now, the bare minimum of human effort will be replaced with the Slop-O-Matic 3000. Nothing about this is new, just molded into the modern landscape. Instead of employing writers to degrade a series, a machine will create thoughtless propaganda all on its own. If you, say, hypothetically, own a beloved IP, have a lucrative deal with a publisher and producer, you're either completely incompetent or brazenly apathetic, then AI is for you. You don't even have to try anymore. Just let the machine vomit in your open lap. Give a few tweaks and force everyone else to figure it out. Don't learn, don't think, don't care. Don't love what your audience has given you, what it means to make art in this beautiful, horrible thing that is the flesh on your bones. Just lie, cheat, steal. It's never been easier. As every profit-seeking institution searches for the cheapest modality of production at the cost of quality, when all your faves succumb to cheating you out of their art, what then? Because right now it's working. Postscript ramble? Should I do a postscript ramble? Do I have stuff to ramble about? Kind of not really. Patreon is my new postscript ramble, and I like it. I like being able to share making stuff on Patreon. Go to my Patreon. I'm not gonna charge you for it, but you should definitely pay me. Teehee. I said I was going to do Rain World, and then I got sad and depressed, so I haven't made much advancements on Rain World. It might be Silksong, but I was trying to play through Silksong again to like gather footage, and I just did not. I just hated it. I just didn't want to fucking play it. It sucks. Combat sucks specifically. Well, explaining that is an entire video. Talking about movies is fun. I haven't done movies yet on this channel, so it's really nice to be able to talk about movies. Those are kind of nice. I like the framing device I did for the video. I think that's a very fun way of doing it. Fucking, if anybody comments about the obnoxious layering issue, like, I thought I had the plan to just key it, but I didn't want to have to like tape a yellow or a green thing to like the front of that monitor. That'd be the only way to do it, really, would be to just cover it in a good color for keying. So I just tried to use the black, but it ended up being pure black, and then glare made it pure white. So it was just impossible to key, and trying to do so was like slaughtering my computer. So I kind of just gave up on it. And honestly, like rendering all that footage, it can just get to be like such a pain in the ass that's probably not worth it. Like, it's probably better off just having this like ugly hole in the middle of the frame than going through all the effort of trying to make it look marginally better. So I'm probably just going to leave it the sloppy way that it is and be okay with it. Yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know. I kind of dread finishing projects now because I have to do just like so much effort after it's already done when I want it to just die. So gotta make subtitles and stuff. Typing this out is going to be really annoying. And the subtitles will say, parenthesis, it was really annoying. And then the next parenthesis will say, shut the fuck up now and stop talking because I don't want to have to type this out anymore, you fucking bitch. Why are you doing this to me?